All right, I wanted to record another demo here, and I want to show a couple of new or types of events that I haven't introduced yet. So in the previous video, I introduced the idea of building a revenue retention model using cohorts, and that's what you see here. And what I'm going to do now is put together a revenue-based financing model, or extend this with revenue-based financing. Now, typically, if you built a revenue and retention model, you'd probably open up a whole nother sheet or something to do revenue-based financing, or you'd have to rework things a fair amount, potentially. I'm going to show what that's like using a logic board, which is to say in Summit. So the first thing we're going to do is we need a place to put the money for the revenue-based financing. Now, if you're not familiar with what that is, revenue-based financing, or RBF, is essentially taking part of your revenues and giving them to a lender in exchange for influx of cash, a loan, and then paying back a percentage of your revenue to that lender over time, potentially up to some limit. And so that's the kind of investment that we're going to test out here inside of our model. So the first thing I want to do is create that loan. So I'm just going to double click. I'm going to call this the RBF loan. And we're going to say that this is $250,000, let's say, just like that. So there's a $250,000 loan. And we need to give that loan a date. So it's saying May 24th, which is today. Instead, we're going to change that to August 1st of this year. And the next thing we're going to do is give that money a place to go. So we're going to create a bank account. We'll call this checking account. And our checking account is a pool of money, which currently has about $125,000 in it, let's say. Okay, so we created that. I'm going to move myself here again. So there we go. All right, so you can see how we've got that loan of $250K coming in August, and we have that about $125,000, which this randomly decided 126 in the checking account today. And I'm going to point this at this so that on that date, it flows into the account. So I'm going to hit run, and there you go. So this $250,000 is now in the checking account in this date. And you can see there how it's 380 now. Okay, and we're also going to take our revenue, which is all monthly. So we're only charging monthly subscriptions. Keeps the model simple for now. And we're going to point that at our checking account as well. And I'm going to run. So you'll also be able to see how the cash from our Stripe subscriptions is also now going into our checking account. So we're at 162, then 181, and then boom, that 250 hits. And so it's much larger here. But we also have some expenses, of course. So we're not going to get off that easy. I'm going to say expenses. Expenses is a source of cost. And let's say our expenses right now is we're about break even, which is why this cash is so useful. So we'll say that our expenses is roughly 18K a month. And we're going to point these expenses at this checking account as well. Let's run this. Cool. So you'll see how we're kind of, we're adding a little bit. We need these expenses to recur monthly. So let's do that here and have these expenses recur monthly. There we go. Great. So now you can see how, under this checking account, under the current regime, turn off this, before this loan hits, kind of breaking even, 156, 158, 159, and then this money comes in. Now we have an extra 250 now at 412, 415, 418, still growing slightly, but now we have some breathing room. But now that we've taken that revenue-based financing, we do need to share part of our revenue with somebody else. So I'm going to create, that's a payback. So I'm going to create this RBF payback. And I'm going to introduce a new type here called a bucket. So I said in the previous video, there's a lot of ways to sum things. And one of those ways is a pool. It grows infinitely. You saw the stack, which is a way of really structuring things like a cohort. And then a bucket is essentially a pool, but with a limit. So just like a bucket has a finite amount that it can store, so does a bucket. So the payback bucket starts at 0 because we haven't paid anything back yet. And they've capped our repayment at, let's say, 3x the original amount, which is 250. So I'm going to say the payment here is capped at $750,000. Okay. So I've created that payback, and I'm going to share some of this revenue with them. So currently we had 100% going into our checking account. Now we're going to send, let's say 8% to the payback, and we're going to send the other 92% to our checking account. Cool. So now you can see this payback. Now there's this payback is starting in May, so we need to adjust that. But you can see it's 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 in total. That's how much is in the bucket. And what we want to show instead is we want this payback to begin on the 1st of August as well. Okay, so there we go. And so now we've bumped that payback to start taking place on the 1st of August. So we get the loan and we begin paying. And you can see how this, so 8% of our revenue, and then increasing month after month after month. And the first payment is a lump because actually we paid, so we have these 3 months collecting, and then we pay a lump towards it. It could also symbolize an origination fee. The idea is that you can see how the money flows to this payback. And in a few minutes here, and adding a few more boxes, we've extended our revenue model with a revenue-based financing option. And if we want to go shop around for different options, of course, we can change these numbers however we need to or want to, and see how our world is different. And then, when you're thinking about taking financing option like this, you're probably thinking longer term than just the next 12 months. So we can summarize by quarters if we want to, and go out years instead. Some it's completely flexible in terms of how far out you look. So you could run this, for 1 year or 5 years or 3 years. It doesn't matter, and see when this eventually pays off. So there's a revenue-based financing option extension added on to our revenue model from previous. Thanks for watching. Can't wait to release this, and look forward to any questions or reactions you guys have.